Let's talk about something that most people never question, yet it quietly drains their wealth every single year. It's not your coffee habit, it's not your Netflix subscription, it's not even your car payment. It's your job. More specifically, staying too long at the same job. That's right. The very thing you think is keeping you safe, that steady paycheck, that familiar office, that predictable routine, might actually be the biggest financial trap of your life. And the worst part? Most people never realize it until they wasted decades climbing a ladder that leads nowhere. The myth of job loyalty. Let's start with the biggest lie ever sold to the middle class, the myth of job loyalty. From a young age, we're taught that being loyal to your employer is a virtue, that good employees stay put, work hard, and wait for their turn to be rewarded. That used to work 50 years ago. Back then, companies actually rewarded loyalty. You could stay at one company for 30 years, get promoted every few years, and retire with a pension and a gold watch. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Today's economy runs on optimization. Companies don't pay for loyalty, they pay for leverage. They will replace you in a heartbeat if it saves them money. And here's the irony. While you think staying in one job makes you stable, in reality, it's making you replaceable. The harsh reality. Raises don't keep up. Let's get brutally honest about numbers. The average annual raise in the US is around 3%. Sounds decent, right? Wrong, because inflation eats that alive. If inflation runs at 3 to 4%, which it often does, your so-called raise is literally worth nothing. You're just treading water while the cost of living quietly rises around you. Now compare that to job hopping. According to data from ADP and other labor studies, people who switch jobs earn on average 10 to 20% more in their next position. That's not speculation, that's cold, hard data. If you stay in your job for 5 years and only get 3% raises, you'll be earning about 16% more than when you started. But if you'd switch jobs twice during that time, getting 15% raises each time, you'd be earning 32% more, double the growth. So ask yourself, why are you settling for slow, predictable raises when the market is literally offering you a shortcut to wealth? The corporate strategy. Keep you comfortable. There's a reason companies love loyal employees, because they're easy to manage. You've stopped negotiating. You've stopped pushing for better compensation. You've accepted the status quo. And once that happens, the company wins. They know you won't leave even if they underpay you. They know you've built comfort around your routine, your colleagues, your benefits, your PTO days. They know fear keeps you there. Fear of the unknown, fear of starting over, fear of rejection. So they use that fear as a weapon. They'll throw you a small annual bonus, give you a new title that means nothing, even let you work from home twice a week, all to keep you feeling rewarded. But behind the curtain, they're saving tens of thousands of dollars each year by not paying you what you're truly worth in the open market. They call it employee retention. I call it financial sedation. How staying too long hurts your future. Let's break down the actual damage that staying at one job for too long causes. It's not just about lost raises. It's about what that money could have become. Say you're underpaid by just $10,000 a year compared to what you could earn elsewhere. Over 10 years, that's $100,000 of lost income. Now, if that money had been invested at a modest 7% annual return, you'd have over $140,000. That's the difference between retiring early and working into your 60s. Every year you stay underpaid, you're not just losing income, you're losing compounding time. And time is the one thing you can never get back.
The career stagnation trap. Another invisible cost is skill stagnation. When you stay in the same job for years, your environment becomes predictable. You stop learning new tools. You stop adapting. Your skill set gets outdated. even if you don't realize it. Meanwhile, people who switch jobs frequently are forced to learn faster, adapt quicker, and understand how different businesses operate. That's real career growth. That's what keeps you valuable. A resume filled with 5 years at one company looks stable. But a resume with multiple companies, each role more challenging than the last, looks strategic. Stability without growth is just stagnation in disguise. Your market value is not static. Here's a hard truth. Your market value doesn't increase just because time passes. You don't automatically become more valuable the longer you stay somewhere. Your value increases only when you test it against the market. And the only way to test it is to apply for other jobs. That's how you find out what companies are willing to pay for your skills. That's how you get leverage. If you never test the market, you'll never know your true worth. And your employer? They're not going to tell you. They have no reason to. They'll keep paying you as little as they can get away with until you prove that someone else is willing to pay more. The hidden costs of security. People often say they stay at their job because it feels secure. But what's really secure about relying on a single paycheck? If your employer decides to cut costs tomorrow, your security vanishes instantly. True security isn't in having one job, it's in having options. When you build skills, expand your network, and keep your resume sharp, you gain career liquidity. That's what real security looks like. You could lose your job tomorrow and find another within weeks. You could negotiate higher pay without fear because you know your worth. Security doesn't come from comfort. It comes from leverage. The psychological cost. There's also a mental cost to staying too long in one place. When you stop chasing growth, you start normalizing mediocrity. You begin to believe that this is just how life is. You stop dreaming of bigger goals. You stop thinking like a builder and start thinking like a survivor. And that shift from ambition to maintenance is where most people lose their edge. The more years you stay stuck, the harder it becomes to leave. You build golden handcuffs, a lifestyle dependent on stability but devoid of real satisfaction. And when that happens, you don't just lose money, you lose momentum.